right, welcome to part 2 of the Peaceful Solution webinar. I'm your second teacher, Christine Heimerman, and we're going to be covering the self-control unit of the junior high. And I'm actually going to be covering chapter 1 of this book, procedures 3 through 7. Now, again, this is a 30-minute portion, so it will be extremely condensed. But if you go and pick up this book yourself, you can go over these lessons and you can teach it yourself. Okay? So the first portion that I'm going to be covering, I want to reiterate what our teacher talked about, because we are learning about self-control. And self-control is the foundation of all positive moral character, okay? So basically, right now we're standing here on concrete. Now, this is the foundation that this building is standing on. So self-control is this concrete that you will build every other positive character trait in order for you to make right choices in your life. So it's very important, it's a very important character trait to develop. Now, right here, I want you to look at this, because this is the equation here of self-control, and it's very, very important, because self-control starts where? Who thinks they know? Where does self-control start? You back here?
Myself. Yeah.
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time?
With myself.
It starts with yourself, yes, but there's a specific area in your body that it starts with. Yes, right here.
Mind.
It starts with your mind. It starts right up here in your brain with your thoughts, your thought process. What is it that you're thinking? Okay, I'm going to jump ahead here, but this is my brain bucket, okay? And we're going to go into it, we're going to explain it a little bit later, but self-control starts all up here first, in your thoughts. What is it that you're thinking? You know, and every single day, from the moment you wake up, there are going to be situations that are going to be put before you that's going to test your thought process. What is it that I'm thinking? What is it that I'm allowing to go into my mind? The moment you wake up, maybe your alarm clock didn't go off. How many of you have ever had that before? Okay, you needed to be at work, or you had an appointment, or you had something that you needed to be at. Your alarm clock didn't go off. And you look at it, and it's about 10 minutes over the time that you were supposed to be at your appointment. In fact, I had that this morning. So it's like a self-control moment. It's a self-control moment. Thinking about what it is that I'm going to allow myself to go with. Because your thoughts then go to your feelings. Okay, and your feelings, they can become positive or they can be negative based upon your thought process. You know, if you wake up and you're late, you can be really upset and lose it and start ransacking your house looking for all your clothes and yelling at the children, "Get your stuff and get in the car!" You can do all those kinds of things. You can. And I'll tell you what else will occur. You'll probably burn your breakfast, spill your coffee, tear your skirt or your pants on the way out the door, and your hair is going to get caught in the door when you're trying to get in. Because your actions will then lead to these consequences. And that's what can occur when we don't stop and control what it is that we're thinking. And that just started in the morning. Your day hasn't even really gotten started. Now, if you wake up and you're already late, you can think positively and say, okay, I'm running late. Let me call whoever it is I need to call and say, oh, I'm so sorry. Explain your situation. And control your feelings so that you're not making irrational choices or actions that will lead to consequences that could affect your children when you're yelling at them, saying, "Get yourself!" Or maybe yelling at your spouse, or maybe you're upset and you start saying things without thinking. So all those things we have to be on guard over, because it starts up here. Every day when we wake up, we have a choice. We can practice self-control, or we can do whatever we want to do. But if we do whatever we want to do, then it's not practicing self-control. Okay? So we're going to go into the importance of self-control, and this is on page 8 of chapter 1. So at the very beginning, it says the real test of self-control is what you do when no one is looking. So, okay, right now I'm in front of all of you. So it's easy for me to say, yeah, I'm in total control. I can be respectful to you. Even if you whack me or something, I can, oh, that's okay. I can be respectful, right? But what about when I'm in my own home and the doors are closed? Can I be disrespectful to my children and yell at them or beat on them? Or maybe have those thoughts about my boss that, man, she's just... Now, if I have those thoughts, is that practicing self-control? No, and we're going to get into that a little later, because those thoughts, even though it's, you know, it's behind closed doors, it's in my own house, it's in my own room, those thoughts will start leading to my feelings, and I'll start displaying that towards individuals. Then you start seeing that coming out in my actions. Next minute, you know, when my supervisor, my boss comes up and says, hey, I need you to go over here and go do whatever, da-da-da-da-da. Do it yourself. That's what, it could eventually come out that way. There has been situations, trust me, there has been situations where it's just do it yourself. And what is the boss going to say? Well, the boss has a choice. The boss could say, okay, I'm going to work with you because I don't have anybody else. Really? Or they could say, pack your bags and be out of here in 15 minutes or I'll call the police. Call security and take you off the premises. And that's reality. And those are some of the reality. Those are some of the choices that if we make, either it's going to be rewards or consequences. And it all comes down to self-control. It all comes down to self-control. So self-control is needed in every single situation. It doesn't matter what situation you're in. Whether you're walking in the door, whether you're walking into the supermarket, whether you're driving down the road, even when you're deadlocked in traffic and people are tailgating you, you need to practice self-control. I want you to think just for a moment. Let's say that you were in traffic. I'm from Austin, so there's heavy traffic there sometimes, especially during rush hour. So when you're driving down, people like to tailgate. People love to cut you off because they got to go somewhere. You know, and yeah, I got to go somewhere too. You know? But you really have to practice self-control and guard your thoughts. Because if you allow yourself to start having all these thoughts, man, that person, then you start having feelings. And actually, there was an article where there was a shooting that took place, and I think it was here in Abilene. It was in near one of the universities where self-control was not displayed, and an individual allowed their thoughts to get in the way of. They didn't stop and think about, if I get upset and I pull this gun out on this person, what's going to take place? And you know what occurred? There's a guy that's dead, and the other guy's in prison. And that's what can take place when we don't control the way that we're thinking. So every situation, whether you're driving down the road, you're at work, you're at home, you're speaking with individuals, you might not even be speaking with individuals. You might just walk into a room of people. I can walk in here right now, and I need self-control over the way that I'm thinking, because you're all looking at me. And you know what? I don't know what you're thinking. I don't. But I have to guard the way that I perceive my perception. Because I can say, oh man, yeah, she's looking at me like she hates me, or she's thinking I'm doing a horrible job. Why don't she get up here? I can go that way. You know, I could go that way with my thoughts. But you have to guard those things because you don't know. She might be thinking, oh man, you know, my car just broke down. But you know what? I've got all this other things to do. But you know, I'm going to come to this class. I'm going to sit here in this class, and I'm going to learn this peaceful solution because I know it's going to help me. That's what she might be thinking, sitting there, looking at me, and I don't know. So I have to practice self-control when I'm up here teaching you and not say, oh, well, she's not interested in my class. She's not interested in what I have to say. So self-control is important and is used in every single situation. Self-control enables you to speak and behave appropriately regardless of the choices that are placed before you or the situations that you are in. Now, I want you to think about right now, what are some situations that maybe you have been in that you did not practice self-control? I want you to think about it. Just think about it just for a minute. What were some situations that maybe you may have been in that you didn't practice self-control? Yes, right over here.
For example?
Go ahead. You want to give us an example?
Sure. Okay, so a couple of weeks ago I was at the bank and I was getting ready to pull out, and this big, huge, like monster truck, just comes barreling through, and I stopped and I honked my horn. I'm like, jerk! So I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have thought that. So I lost my self-control.
Right. Was there anyone in the building, in the vehicle with you?
Yes.
Yes.
My daughter.
Your daughter. So, she might be in the store or maybe at night, putting her daughter to bed, and then, maybe her daughter doesn't like what her mother is saying. It's time to go to bed. Jerk! And mother's like, whoa, you snap your head. How many of you have ever done that? How many of you have ever done that as a parent? You heard your child say, there's like, your head snaps like, whoa, what was that? Where'd they get that from? Where'd they get that from? Take a look in the mirror. That's where they got it from. Because why? We got to be so careful the way that we're thinking. We can. At that very moment, she could have been like, oh, what could you have said? What do you think? How do you think you could have used self-control in that situation and turned it around?
Just slammed on my brakes and said, well, I guess he's got somewhere to go, and I'll just let him go.
Wonderful. Right there. That's a perfect example right there. And her child would have learned right in that situation that sometimes people are in a rush. But mom is not going to lose self-control. And she won't have to suffer consequence of hearing her daughter saying things that she's not supposed to say. Right? So those are just some of the consequences. And I know as parents, sometimes you hear some strange things from your children. But if we stop and think, where did Susie learn that from? The other day, you can think back and you can see actually that, hey, I said those words. I acted that way. I displayed those feelings and taught Susie how to act that way, how to think that way, how to say those things. So it's really important that we watch those things. You have a comment back here?
Yeah. When I was growing up, I always heard
I'm sorry, can you stand up real quick? Go ahead.
I always heard my grandparents tell my mom, you're going to have children that are going to turn out just like you. And you're sitting there going, oh, man, I hope not, because you know how you was. And so these classes are going to be beneficial because it's going to teach you how to break that pattern of teaching them to be like you.
Right. So I want you to think about it. Every one of us, we all have some negative character traits, correct? Do we all? I know. I'm going to say I know I have a few things that I need to work on, right? That I want out of me. Well, in order for me to get those negative character traits out, which, we already talked about some in the seminar, and we're going to talk about more, so be in the classes and tune in for the rest of the portions, okay? But you need self-control in order to overcome those negative character traits. If you want to better yourself, if you want to be a better parent, if you want to be a better worker, if you want to be just a better individual in life, period, you need self-control. You need self-control in order to make those right choices. Because you can't just do whatever you want to do. So let's go ahead and move on. Because self-control, I want you to understand this. The definition of self-control is really, it's guiding and it's directing your thoughts. It's guiding and directing your feelings. What's going on in here? It's guiding and directing your actions. Your body, you're controlling it. You're not, when you're being told to do something or asked to do something, you know? Yeah, there's sometimes, I'm going to be honest with you, sometimes we're told things we don't necessarily like. But we've got to practice self-control in our body language. You know, not eye rolling, throwing back, you know, and women, men too, you know, but women have a real strong tendency to have a lot of body. I am not in agreement with what you're saying kind of body movements. Really, they do. And we as women can get that together and practice self-control. We really can. Okay? So determining to practice self-control has to be of your own free will. It's not something that anyone can force you to do. Meaning you're coming here to this class on your own free will, right? Right? Okay? I want to make sure nobody was dragged in here ball and chain and said, you better sit in this seat and learn self-control. Nobody, right? Raise your hand if you were. Okay, no. No, you all came in here free will. Great. So that means that you all have a desire to obtain positive moral character. You all have that as your focal point, that you want to become those people who can benefit society, who can benefit your family, who can benefit your work area, whatever reason you're here. Right? Well, after you sit here and you learn these things, once you get up out of your seat, self-control has to be of your own free will. Meaning you, on your own, without anyone else's prompting or coaxing, they're not going to say, hey, what's your name? Linda. They're not going to say, hey, Linda, you got to practice self-control. Linda, don't be thinking those kinds of thoughts. Linda, don't be yelling at your kids. Linda, no, it's not going to be that way. It's not that way. It's not that way. You come here, you'll learn, and then you're off on your own to practice self-control on your own free will. If you have to be forced or continuously reminded to follow instructions. Now, okay, how many of you are parents? Raise your hand. Parents or worked with any children before? Now, when you're teaching children how to do something, yeah, you have to continuously remind them. Pick your clothes up off the floor. Please, pick your clothes off. Okay, put the cap on the toothpaste. Don't leave the water running in the bathroom. All these kinds of things you have to teach them, right? Eat over your plate. You know, don't use your hands. Yeah, I was thinking use your hands, but don't use your hands when you're eating. Use your utensils. Use a napkin. Don't use your clothes to clean up your face. You know, so there are some things that you have to repetitively say to children, and eventually it clicks, and they'll grow up and they'll tell their children that too, right? But they'll learn it. But with us, as individuals, if we're driving down the road and we're being taught that we have to control ourselves, and we're driving down the road, I'm not going to be there behind you and saying, Missy, don't have those thoughts about that guy that just cut you off. Missy, don't be upset because these people here are deciding to do foolishness and whatever. You're held up in traffic for 2 hours. I'm not going to be there to continuously remind you. I'm not going to be there to remind her. It has to be your own choice. So when you get up right now, actually, you have to determine on your own free will to practice self-control. So self-control must be within you, and it has to be practiced consistently. And that is so important. It has to be done consistently. It's not something that you can just do today and then skip a couple weeks and then, hey, I'm going to try it again in 3 weeks. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. If you think it does, you'll end up seeing that you'll have a lot of these. You'll have a lot of these consequences. And if you're ever in a situation where you're experiencing a lot of consequences, if you stop and you go back and you reevaluate the situations that led up to that consequence, you realize, I lacked self-control. On some level, I lacked self-control. So that's why it's really important. Remember, going back to the thoughts, it's really important to guard the way that you're thinking. And that's actually, I think, the next part that we're going to jump into here is guarding our thoughts and being aware that our actions, our thoughts, our actions, everything that we do, it starts up here in our thoughts. Okay? So right now I have this brain bucket. This is my brain, this is your brain. I want you to visualize it. This is your brain, okay? Now, the reason why I chose a bucket is because you put stuff in buckets. If you got to mop a floor, you're going to put some water and some cleaning things in order to mop the floor. So your brain is the same way. You put things into your brain. And whatever you put into your brain, that's your choice. It's your choice what you're going to put in here. Just like it's your choice when you go to the store and you're going to mop your floor. There are 10 million cleaners on the racks, and you can choose whichever one you want to put into your bucket to clean your floors. Well, you have a choice to put in here whatever you want to come out of here and out of here. Okay? So, let's start with the negative ones first. I have some volunteers. If you can, let's start over here first. Can you stand up and tell us what your negative thought is?
I can't do anything right.
I can't do anything right, she says. That's a negative thought. Into the bucket. Who else has negative? Raise your hand if you have a negative. Okay, right over here. Right over here.
That's stupid.
That's stupid. Negative thought into the brain. Negative over here.
I hate you.
Oh, I hate you, she says. Another negative thought into the brain. Into the brain. Any more negative? Okay, one right here. Let me come around this way.
I don't like this.
I don't like this. Into the brain. Okay? All that's negativity. Now, if these are our thought processes, what do you think is going to come out? What do you think is going to come out? I want you to comment. What do you think? I'll go back over them just in case you forgot. That's stupid. If this is going into our brain, what do you think is going to come out? Anyone? Yes.
If I was receiving an instruction and I thought it was stupid, then what's going to come out is probably a half-done job or, a sloppy job.
Right. If she's being asked to do something and she's thinking about that, her job is going to be done halfway. And you know what that means? That means somebody else has to pick up the slack. Now, if you're in it doesn't matter where you work really, and you have to pick up the slack from another individual, that load starts to get a little heavy. And that can start building a little bit of strain in the relationship. And there's a consequence that can start coming about. Conflicts can start just because of these negative thoughts. All right, let's go on to some positive ones because I want to get these negative ones out of my brain. What are some positive ones? Who has a positive one? Yes, right back here.
Change your mindset. Be positive.
Change your mindset. Be positive. Go ahead and put that in there. I want that in my brain, right? If situations come up, I got to change my mindset. I got to be positive about this situation. What's another one?
Today is a great day.
Today's a great day. That's a great way to think about it, having that positive thoughts in your mind. Who else? Who else has some positive thoughts? Right here. I want these going into my brain.
I can do this.
I can do this. That's a positive thought. Anyone else? Right over here.
I don't understand, but I'll give it a try.
I don't understand, but I'll give it a try. You know, if we have these positive thoughts going into our brain, what do you think is going to come out then? Positivity, positive actions. You know what you'll get? You'll get rewards. You'll get rewards, and not just things that are tangible. Now, yes, you know, you might excel in your work areas if you have those thoughts. You might excel, but you'll be, even more important than that, you'll be a better person. You'll be a better person. You'll be able to think clear. You'll be able to make more right choices in any situation that you're in because of the positive thinking. Did you have a comment you wanted to say?
And you will have rewards in your brain, in your mind.
Yes.
You're going to be rewarded.
Yes, you'll have those rewards in your brains. You know, we all have things that we hope for, that we desire, that we love. You know, and those things can build with those positive thoughts or those positive thinkings. They aren't torn down. They aren't destroyed with the negativity. Yes, right over here.
If you have those positive things in your brain, then even if you don't receive what seems like physical rewards, your reputation, you'll have a positive reputation whether you know it or not.
Right. You'll have that positive reputation. You will be known by your actions. You'll be known as somebody that, you know, if I need something done, I know I can call on you, right? Because you'll have that reputation of being that, oh, I don't understand, but sure, I can do it. I can get it done. It's not about being fake chipper. How many of you have ever seen that where somebody's like a fake chipper, but inwardly they're thinking something else? It's not a fake thing. Self-control is not something just that you put out facially, okay? Self-control is going on inside of your entire being, starting up here in your body. Yes, I'm sorry, up here in your mind. Yes.
It makes you a better person for yourself and someone else too.
Yes. Self-control makes you a better person. Now, very quickly, before my time is running out, I really want to talk about controlling the way that you think about yourself. Because self-control is very important. You know, we all can look at ourselves and say, I'd like to improve this, I'd like to improve that. But what's not beneficial for you as individuals, or even for myself, is to think negatively about ourselves. Because the one thing is that when you start thinking negatively, you're more prone to giving in to negative actions. Meaning, it's easier for me to push you or encourage you to do something that's morally wrong. Something that's going to lead you, or myself, or even others, into consequences. Maybe jail time, maybe death, maybe, there's so many different consequences that can result. So you have to be careful over the way that you're thinking concerning yourself. Have those positive thoughts. If there's something that you know that you want to change within yourself, don't say, I can't do it. Change that mindset. Be positive. Think, I can do this. And make the steps, take the peaceful solution. There are many steps in here, just within this book, on how you can improve yourself. Another aspect is controlling the way that you think about others. And I talked about that at the very beginning. Because I don't know what you're thinking. But the way that my thoughts are concerning you, whether I'm walking in and I'm seeing you talking, I have to be on guard over what it is that I allow myself to think concerning your conversation. I can start thinking, oh man, they're talking about me because they're gathered and they're whispering, but you know what they might be whispering about? Another situation. Maybe they had a flat tire or something, and they're saying, "Oh, do you have a phone number that I can call a mechanic?" Or whatever. You don't know. We don't know, but we have to be on guard because those thoughts, your negative thoughts, can either build bridges with. Your thoughts can either build bridges with individuals. Build bridges, meaning connecting you with individuals. Or negative thoughts can be the bulldozer that will come and crash those bridges down and actually create those conflicts. And we're actually seeing those conflicts right now within the world. All because self-control is not practiced. So right now I want you to remember Self-control starts with you in your mind, and it has to be of your own free will. When you get up out of these seats, I really want you right now to determine within yourself that you're going to practice self-control in any and every situation that you're placed in. And with that, that closes my portion here of self-control intermediate series.